Everyone is the hero of their own story, aren't they? Focus on being useful. You might be the best, you might not, but be useful in any room that you're in. That's excellence. The sooner you can tackle your fears and be self-aware about what they are, the faster you're going to progress and the more you're going to grow.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another very special episode of Chat Masala. So thrilled to have with us Ankur Rathee. He has an extraordinary life journey. After Princeton, he went to USC to study film and then found himself in a New York advertising agency and all of a sudden quit and moved to Mumbai to pursue an acting career. I remember about 8 years ago, Ankur, I saw you in an ad, I think, and I was like, hey, I know this guy from Princeton. And then I blinked a few years later. You've got Made in Heaven, 4 More Shots, Please, and most recently Shehzaada, which I absolutely loved. So thank you for joining us and very much looking forward to picking your brain.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Rahul. I'm excited to be here. It's so crazy reconnecting after all these years. For those of you who don't know, we went to university together at Princeton.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm curious about. What was your thought process? Because your journey is so unconventional. What were you thinking in the final year of Princeton? Did you have this all charted out? Were you figuring things out? And the reason I'm asking is a lot of our students are facing similar challenges. Many of them want to enter creative fields. What was going through your mind and what advice might you have for them?
I have no idea. I wish I had more going through my mind. I was so lost in a way, but at the same time knew exactly what I wanted. I think when I was very young, I started performing and dancing and slowly got into acting and singing as well. And I knew deeply that I wanted to be an actor, but I was so afraid to admit that to myself because I was afraid of failing. I come from a family that, my mother grew up in a village in Haryana. My father came from Haryana as well. And 100 generations of farmers and stuff. The idea of making your living being an artist was just an absurd thought. So much so that I didn't even utter it as a possibility to my parents, my family, or to myself. When it really hit me was when I was doing an internship at this company called Athena Education, an advertising technology firm, the summer of my third year of university. I was, I'm very type A and very ambitious, and I would stay late and I was putting in all these long hours trying to leave a great impression because hopefully by the end of the summer, I would secure a job opportunity. And fortunately I did. And in the course of that, I realized something, this gaping hole that I felt, this void. And I realized it was that I wasn't creatively being utilized in the way I was used to up until that point throughout high school, throughout university. If you remember, I was in DZAC. I did some stuff with Nacho. I was part of the musical theater program. So I was dancing, I was acting, I was singing. I was in and out of rehearsals. I was in 2 a cappella groups at university. So I was constantly in a rehearsal space on a stage and really kind of using all my creative faculties. And then suddenly for 3 months of that summer, I was sitting at a desk, at a computer, and still still being charismatic and magnetic and work in the room and enjoying my time there. But something was grossly wrong. And that was the first time I realized that this is no longer something I can hide from anymore. I realized after I got the job opportunity that I need to pursue a life in the performing arts. And the head of the American sales division called me actually a week before the deadline for me to accept the offer. And he just called me. He's like, what's going on? His name was Arun. And he was like, everyone else has accepted their offers. Do you have another offer, or what can I help you make a decision? I just told him, I was like, I want to be an actor. And he just laughed. He was like, what? Where did that come from? And I said, yeah, I want to be an actor. And I'm afraid that if I take this job, I won't be able to do that. And then he convinced me. He's like, look, we'll let you take long lunch breaks, go do your auditions, and he basically presented a lot of flexibility in the job. And we kind of negotiated that flexibility into my offer so that I could take it. And the analytical Princeton brain of mine had reached out to a bunch of other alumni who were working in the creative field in New York City and other places that I knew, went to university with. And I called them. I said, hey, I've got these two paths. Either I take a job and I continue doing the performing arts on the side, or I just jump in with, completely blind into the world of film and dance and acting. And I don't know if you remember Jeff Cooperman. He was a dancer and he's now like an incredible choreographer as well. So he gave me the advice. He was like, look, you still have to earn a living. So if you want to go and do the life of the struggling artist in New York City, that's fine, but you're still going to be waiting tables. You're still going to have to pay rent somehow. So he said, take the job and let that provide you, you're earning, while at the same time devote as much time as you can to developing your skill sets and getting an understanding of the landscape. I mean, that was kind of my journey to coming to terms with the fact that I really do want to be an actor, and I need to have the guts to kind of go for it.
So you took this job and you negotiated enough free time to participate in auditions and so on. What drew you to India and not maybe the theater scene in New York? How did that decision play out?
Yeah, I started doing off-Broadway theater while I was at my job. So I would work from, I'd check in, I don't know, it was like 6, whatever. I'd check in at like 7 a.m. to work, and then I'd get off at like 5, 6 p.m. And I'd go straight to rehearsals, and I'd be in rehearsals or performances until like midnight, essentially. And I was doing that, I was really spread thin, and then my parents came to visit. Mm-hmm. And I thought, okay, they're going to be proud of me, like, look, I went to a good university, I got a good job, and I'm doing all these performing arts stuff on the side. Like for them, like this was my opportunity to show them around. I was taking them around. I was like paying for stuff using my own card because I was like financially independent for the first time. I took my parents to this restaurant called Spice Market in New York, I remember. And I was like, so what do you think? Like, now you got a sense of my life and what's going on. And my dad was like, what are you doing? And there was like a tinge of disappointment. I was like, what do you mean? I'm doing everything. What do you mean? He said in Hindi, he said, Teri ek tang yahan hai, ek tang wahan hai. You've got one leg in this whole professional realm and all that. And you got one leg in wanting to be an artist. And he said, aise to tu kuch bhi nahi hasil kar payega, to dono पैरों के साथ छलांग मार. You really want to do this artist thing, dude? You got to jump in with both feet. You got to commit. And he said, quit your job. And I'm like, what? He said, quit your job in 3 months. I was like, I can't quit my job. There's all this fear suddenly, with something you wanted your whole life and someone says, here, take it. And then suddenly tumhare haath kaapne lag jate hain. You start getting very nervous. Like, well, now I have to actually go for it. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough?
No excuses anymore.
No excuses anymore. At the dinner table, I negotiated with my dad. I said, Dad, listen, I need 6 months to get my ducks in order and to wrap my head around this. But I promised in 6 months I would quit my job. And we shook on it. And 6 months later, I quit my job. And in the course of that, while I finally found the courage to pursue this career, there was still so much fear. I feel like the sooner you can tackle your fears and be self-aware about what they are, the faster you're going to progress and the more you're going to grow. So for me, I finally overcame the fear of like, okay, I got to do this. But I was still so afraid about whether or not I was good enough. I had so much doubt. And I, for some reason, thought that it would be easier in India somehow. I was doing theater. I had a manager. I'd done some ad campaigns in New York and I was making progress, but I just felt so supremely untalented by comparison to the people around me. And I felt small. And New York can do that to you. It can make you feel really big or make you feel really small with all those millions of people everywhere you go. And I thought, let me go to Mumbai, it's a different talent pool. I speak the language. I can act, I can dance, I can sing. And I grew up on Bollywood cinema. I think that maybe I can make something happen there. And I had a few examples. My sister-in-law had already moved to Mumbai and had gotten a film. And I was like, well, maybe this is where I need to be. And I think fear drove me to India. But, by God's grace, I think there was a little bit of, there's some protection there. I think there was something intuitive also going around, because it definitely was the right decision for me. I mean, clearly it worked out very well. But going to India was a big surprise, because if I felt small in New York, I definitely felt small in Mumbai, like far more people and no network and no family in Mumbai and no understanding of how that industry worked. It was like literally starting from scratch, and building myself up and learning the craft and honing my craft. And I say the intuition part because I think intuitively somewhere I knew that to make such a huge career shift, to do something that statistically speaking is so unlikely, I needed to really change my consciousness. And I'd grown very comfortable in New York. I wasn't checking my bank account. I was making good money. My girlfriend at the time, now my wife, was only a few blocks away. I was eating whatever I wanted to eat. I was gaining some weight. Like, I was very comfortable in my life. And I knew that somewhere intuitively, if I'm going to make this happen, there's going to have to be a serious shift. I need to put myself in an environment that's going to really push me to grow in ways that I'm uncomfortable with. And boy, did India rise to the challenge. I mean, it was a completely different culture than I'm used to. Something as small as getting your Vodafone SIM, like, took me forever. It's like, sir, electricity bill chahiye aapka, uspe naam hona chahiye. I'm like, sir, main yahan par kiraye pe reh raha hu, main thodi kahan se leke aaunga aapke liye? It's like, Aadhaar card chahiye, Aadhaar card kahan se leke aau? It was just like this whole thing, and like, just something as simple as that, really humbled me down. It's like, oh crap, what did I do? Where am I? Every morning I'd wake up, I'm like, what am I doing here? But by answering that question every single morning, I built the resilience and the fortitude to kind of, to prepare for this career, which is full of rejection and big ups and downs.
I'd love to zoom into that a little bit. When you got to Mumbai and it felt like you were starting from scratch, what were your days like? And when you faced that fear, that doubt, what did you turn to? What was your source of strength? So maybe two questions. Number one, on a more surface level, how did you arrange your day and how did you keep knocking on those doors? And number two, on a more internal level, how did you kind of keep your inspiration and motivation up? I hope you're enjoying this episode of Chat Masala. Before we move on with this insightful conversation, please be sure to subscribe and follow us so we can continue expanding our minds together.
It's so funny. My wife makes fun of me for this all the time. She asked the same question. And I've been thinking about this a lot. Why did I go to India? That makes no sense. Like, now, logically,
trust me, I get that question a lot too.
It makes zero sense. My wife always makes fun of me because she's like, when you moved to India, you didn't know anything about Bollywood. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Because I watched Bollywood and Hindi cinema up until high school. And then high school, and until like going to India, I consumed very little Hindi cinema. I was obsessed with learning in the American academic system and acting institutions. And, I was just obsessed with American films and Hollywood and would study those actors and plays from basically every other country but India. And so by the time when I actually showed up in India, I'm mentioning all this because when I showed up to India, I had zero idea like who the major players in the industry were. Like, I knew who Shah Rukh was, I knew who Hrithik was, I knew who the big actors and actresses were, but like, I didn't know much beyond that. I knew very few directors. I didn't know any producers. I didn't know any names of production houses. My sister, on the contrary, who is now an actress, who is also in Mumbai, knew everything. Even she watched Hindi films throughout high school, throughout college. She watched she watched B grade, C grade films. She did not care. So what I did, first thing I did was I created flashcards like a good student. I went on Wikipedia and I wrote down Raj Kapoor. And on the other end, I wrote down who that was. And I would write how everyone's connected and then it really like the picture of Bollywood kind of made sense and kind of the nepotistic ties made sense. I was like, Rani Mukherjee and Kajol are related.
Are related?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like Karan, Johar, and Aditya Chopra. I'm like, I'm just like making all these connections and learning who these people are. And I kid you not, I swear I still have like a deck of index cards this big that I would flip through to try to understand. So that was one of the first things I did. Second thing I did was I just contacted every single person I knew in my network who was somehow affiliated to the industry. I mean, like my cousin's father-in-law's brother lived in the same building as Imran Hashmi, like that. And I was, you know what I mean? Like that. Like I did I took coffee with everyone. I met with every single person that I could. And my approach was, and this was advice I'd give to your younger audiences, I wasn't looking for a handout. I wasn't looking for work. I was just saying, hey, tell me your story. Explain to me how you got to be where you are. Because I've always learned through other people's lens in that way. And every story I heard, I was able to color in the picture a little bit better about how this industry functions. And the myriad of experiences that I got to hear from people firsthand helped shape kind of the way I saw myself fit into this landscape. So that's what I actually did when I got there. And how did I deal with it emotionally? Fortunately, I had my spiritual practice, my guru Paramahansa Yogananda, whose Mahasamadhi happened many, many years ago. But his teachings I followed since I was probably 12. And truth be told, I wasn't meditating every day. I wasn't as regular as I wanted to be. I wasn't applying those teachings as rigorously as I'd wanted to. And something about being in India, I realized, okay, well, this is one thing that I can control. This is one thing that I know in my heart. If I focus on my spiritual practice, everything else will fall in place. And it brings to mind a quote from the Bible, seek ye first the kingdom of God and all else will be added unto thee. Basically get your priorities in straight spiritually and watch how the abundance will flow. And so that's what I did. That's what helped me really deal with the rejection and the feeling lost and very alone those first 6 months, to be honest, first 3-4 years. Was having a spiritual practice, was meditating, was reading a lot of those teachings. And it kind of gave me the even-minded approach that one requires in a field like this.
That's amazing. And I think you touched upon so much. And really the duality of any creative endeavor. On a material level, there's a lot of grinding, your stack of note cards, meeting everyone, making this huge mind map. At the same time, there's this internal journey as well. And I think that was a really beautiful story and one that I think a lot of young people really need to hear. So whatever the spiritual practice may be, whatever resonates with you, find that.
Right.
And as you said, find the kingdom of heaven within. I actually remember this from college, and back then we used Facebook, but you put up a quote by Paramahansa Yogananda ji from the autobiography of a yogi. And
oh, really? Okay.
It was amazing because not many 20-year-olds are quoting Indian mystics. But I now see this amazing line between your spiritual consciousness and your ability to push through the challenges that life offers. So that was amazing. Switching gears a little bit, I'm actually curious to draw a connection between your academic training, the rigorous liberal arts curriculum at Princeton, and acting. Were there academic insights from, I believe you majored in anthropology, which is the study of the human species. Were you able to channel some of that into your creative work as an actor?
Oh, yeah. I think that as an actor, it's super important to have a wide array. Like I have such a wide array of experiences, and I have a large knowledge base. At least for me, that's been very beneficial, right? Like approaching a character, I have enough of a general knowledge because of my high school and university training to have a baseline understanding of what this person does for a living, what this character does for a living, or what kind of life experience that they've had. So, I mean, like I think about at Princeton taking economics, right? It's like, well, as an, where is that going to help you as an actor, for example? But it's like, oh my God, it helps you so much, right? Even recently I played in City of Dreams 2, where I was playing this young business tycoon, son of this business tycoon. And I'm a business leader and stuff. And we had to like, there's always room to improvise and stuff. And I realized like, there's so much stuff so much economic jargon that I have because of that class, and just like a baseline understanding of finance that I've kind of caught. And that's the thing is when you have to have a healthy curiosity that you keep with you, for the entirety of your life. That liberal arts education gives you the foundation, and then you kind of grow from there. And so I had enough of a financial understanding to kind of like put myself in the shoes of this character, understand, okay, well, in this meeting, the dialogue starts here, but when they're rolling the camera, maybe before that, I can kind of play around here and have a few conversations and give them something to cut to or cut from, and it helped me get into character. I mean, that's just a small example of how important it is to have a very strong general knowledge of the world and different subjects. Anthropology, on the other hand, is like a lot more directly related because there's a lot of crossover between sociology and anthropology at times. The study of like how one's culture and how one's religion dictates the decisions they make is so crucial to my understanding of my characters. I wrote my thesis on the evolution of arranged marriage in India over the last 50 years, tracking how much choice an individual has, man versus woman, over the last 50 years. Like what age they got married. Like my grandfather got married when he was 13 or 14, the child marriage, and had no choice in the matter, right? Whereas my cousins have a lot more choice, and how courtship patterns have evolved, how the marriage market has evolved. You're talking about this other company you're working on, for matchmaking and stuff. So all of that stuff on an individual level, how is it driving decision making? How is it driving motives and stuff? That's literally what I do as an actor. When I get a script, it's like every line, every scene, it's like, well, what is this character? What's driving this character? And how is his race? How is his economic upbringing, his economic stature? How is his cultural upbringing? How is his religion, his faith? How are all these things guiding the way he's looking at the situation or this relationship? So the anthropological lens is something that I use daily as an actor, but I'm not even conscious of it. I'm so grateful for that education.
That's amazing. I think most people wouldn't see the connection between maybe a rigorous liberal arts academic training and acting. But you're saying when you look at a character, you're analyzing them from an anthropological, a sociological, a psychological, a political, an economic, a religious lens. And sometimes that's subconscious, but a lot of that came from your academic training. Lovely. And how about the flip side? Does your training and practice as an actor allow you to navigate life challenges more elegantly, effortlessly?
I don't know about effortlessly, but they do help. I think, and the other thing with actors is like, you have to be very empathetic, and that's, compassion is a very important part of that. But let's say I'm playing a scene where someone, husband and wife are fighting. Let's just say, maybe at first glance, the husband is just wrong, right? He's just wrong. Like you look at the plot and you're just like, this guy cheated on his wife. He's just wrong. That's it. It starts and ends there. Like, I don't get, but if you approach the character and you think of your character as immoral, you think of your character as a bad person, and you pass judgment on your character, you're not going to be able to do that character justice. Mm-hmm. You need to be able to empathize with them, because no one actually thinks of themselves as the bad guy in their story. Everyone is the hero of their own story, aren't they? So that guy, that husband who cheated on his wife, well, I cheated on my wife because, because I'm not getting the kind of physical and emotional attention that I once was from my wife. Or I cheated on my wife because I have some sort of, sex addiction or something like that, or I'm cheating on my wife because, I had a connection with someone else that's just so much deeper, or, I'm so sorry I made a mistake, but that doesn't define me. Whatever it is, how he justifies his actions, I need to be able to dive in and understand that and connect with that. And in our interpersonal interpersonal relations, when we see someone who seems like an adversary or seems like someone who's being rude or mean or is unjustified in their behavior, as an actor, I'm able to step back and play devil's advocate and think, okay, what's going on with them? Why did they say that? Did they say that just to hurt me? And if so, why are they trying to hurt me? What's making them feel so small that they need to make me feel small to feel big? What's driving that horrible behavior or that horrible action? Because at the root of it, that person doesn't believe they're a horrible human being. They're trying just like everyone else. So let's get on the same page. And like that understanding and that compassion and that ability to take a blow, but like not immediately jump to making the other person to a bad guy and judging them. I think acting has really helped me with that.
It's almost as though in every interaction, it's an opportunity to really analyze the psychology of another and understand their motivation, their inspiration, why they do what they do. So, in fact, your real life conversations become training for your roles. It's
research. It's research. It's research, and it's torturous because it just never ends. That's one of the downsides of, I think, being an actor is like if you're really committed to growing in your craft, it just doesn't stop.
So how do you structure that? I'm really curious. You talked about research. Of course, it just keeps happening. You're interacting with so many people throughout the day and you're trying to understand with them, empathize with them, have compassion. Do you have a system? Because you mentioned that to be an actor, you need to have a wide range of experiences and really analyze those experiences. What's your process for that, for continually growing as an actor and as a creator?
It's so different depending on the project and depending on the role. There's some roles that you read the script and you think, oh, that's my Krishna Buaji. Like, you're just like, oh, I know who this person is. Like, that's that person I grew up with, or that's my Tauji, or that's like my sister. And you're able to embody that. It's just in you, and then there's some people that are just so different from your scope of life. Like me playing someone of a different economic, social, cultural background entirely is much harder for me to connect with. So then I have to do research. You go out of your way to do the reading, to do the research, to put yourself in the position that your character might have been in, to get a feel, to get a sense, to get a glimpse of what that life is like. So then it becomes a lot more like targeted research. So that's one kind of research, just like general understanding where your characters, how your character's mind works. And then another is like the physicality of your character is a different type of research, right? Does your character have a limp? Does he have a tic? Is he nervous? If he's nervous, does he shake his leg a lot? Then another type of research is like accent, right? Like right now I'm speaking to you in my American accent. When I'm most of my characters have like an Indian neutral accent. Yesterday I gave an audition with a Haryanvi accent. So there's a different type of research for that, it's just like kind of never ending actually. But if you don't have any role and you're just trying to perfect your craft, sometimes I'm watching a film and I see an incredible scene, an incredible performance, and I'll pause it and I'll rewind it back and I'll watch it again. But this time I'll watch it not as a viewer, but I'll watch it like, what were those decisions that actor made? I'll watch it again and be like, what was the blocking for that? How did they decide to have the actor move on this line? And why did they change that shot to this shot? And then I'll watch it back and I'll turn off the sound and I'll transcribe the dialogue. And then 2 months later, I'll bring it up and I'll edit it and make it into a monologue, or I used to edit and make it into a monologue where I'll find a scene partner and I'll do the scene with them and see what kind of choices I would do. So there's no system. It's whatever inspires you in that moment. But I think it's so crucial for any artist to be using their creative tools every day to मतलब उस instrument का रियाज होना चाहिए हर रोज. That's the goal. The goal is every day put in the work in some way, whether it's reading a book where you're improving your general knowledge about some things or someone's psychology, or actually getting up on your feet and acting.
Amazing. I think it's important to see that even in a creative endeavor, there's so much science, and you have to be extremely methodical about that riyaz on a daily basis. Speaking of daily basis, can you give us a breakdown of what your average day looks like? I know it can differ, but generally, how do you structure your day between all of your obligations?
I can tell you the first part of my day is the same most days. The rest of the day is all over the place, depending on what I'm working on. But the first part of my day, ideally, is I wake up, bathroom, all that other stuff. I'll read. I'll do a little reading. Then I like to meditate. After meditation, then exercise, shower, breakfast. If I can, I'm starting to create a habit of journaling, and then the day starts. And it's so different. It depends on what time zone I'm on. Right now I'm in California, so it's like I'm having meetings a little bit earlier, and then at night I'm having meetings and stuff. Meetings are sometimes with my manager discussing different opportunities, film opportunities, or web series, discussing who's working on what and whether or not it's something I want to do. It's going to move the needle enough in my career. Negotiating contracts. When I have a release coming, then I've got calls with my PR team discussing how they're trying to position me in the media and stuff up to a release. When I'm shooting, it's like just my whole life is just that. Then I'm waking up, and if I can exercise, great. Otherwise, I'm on set, and I'm on set all day. And when I'm not shooting, I'm in my trailer reading, or maybe I'm writing a script. And then I come back home, and end of the day, I try to keep for my family and keep for my wife, and spend that quality time together, and then pass out. I mean, it's just it's mayhem these days, Rahul. I have no idea. Every day is different.
Amazing. No, but it seems like you really mastered the morning, and it's remarkable how common that is across industries. We've spoken with others, and they all have this very meticulous morning ritual, and the same things keep coming up: meditation, journaling, exercise. So I think that's something that all young people should take up ASAP.
It's just wild how much more productive your day is when you wake up earlier. And if my wife is not a morning person, she likes to sleep late. And so inevitably then I'm sleeping a little bit late. So if I'm trying to get enough sleep, it's very tough for me to wake up at 6:30 every single day right now with the current lifestyle that we have. But if I was waking up 6:30 a.m. every day, boy, I get so much done before the day really even starts. And I love that, because then when I'm of the firm believer that you need to have a significant amount of time to be doing work independent in isolation of other people. And then you need a significant amount of time out there in the world collaborating with other people. Mm-hmm. If you don't have one without the other, I feel like it's a little incomplete, whatever you're trying to achieve and accomplish. And generally, most people, or at least for me, I can say I'm such an extrovert. I spend too much time distracted by other people and what's going on versus that solitude and that alone time working on what I need to do on my own.
Amazing lesson. Amazing. So you kind of have to be an ambivert.
Yeah.
Okay, lovely. Would love to bounce to the rapid fire questions.
I don't know how rapid I'll be, but I'll try my best.
If you're stuck on an island, what single book would you like to have with you?
I think you know the answer to this. Autobiography.
Probably mine too. Amazing. 3 skills young people, 18 to 20-year-olds should focus on developing. I
would say meditation. I think it's super key, no matter what your industry is, to be able to be calm in the face of so much distraction today. The second, I'd say communication. specifically writing. I think having a command over your language is so important to be able to communicate your thoughts and to express yourself creatively. The last one I would say is maybe more of a quality than a skill is compassion. I think having compassion is so crucial to success and to happiness and well-being.
Lovely. Film or dance, which gives you more fulfillment?
Fulfillment. Film. I think film just has the impact film has on the world is, as of now, is far greater, unfortunately or fortunately. But I want to be a part of films that have that kind of cultural impact.
Amazing. Okay. Your biggest acting role model?
Tom Hanks.
The role you've played so far that's closest to your heart?
I played this character whose name I'm forgetting now, which is so common for me. But I played this character in Thappad, who is a film about kind of gender normative behavior and some of the misogyny rooted in our culture and in many of our families and stuff. And so I thought that film, that subject matter and that character was pretty close to heart. I definitely did that film with a very different consciousness. 4 more shots, please. Arjun Nair was so grateful for that role, but that was all about looking sexy, being sexy and being appealing. But Thappad was a completely different genre of film.
Excellence is blank.
Excellence is being useful.
Ooh.
I'm going to add it. I don't care about the fact that you want it to be rapid. Sorry.
No, I love it.
I always was taught that, Ankur, whatever you do, be the best at it. That's what my concept of excellence was. Be the best. But it's like best is inherently a comparative word, isn't it? Like you can't be the best without being better than other people. And then I was watching Arnold Schwarzenegger's 3-part docuseries on Netflix, and he said something so interesting that his father told him. His father said, Arnold, whatever you do, be useful. And that really stuck with me. I had to pause and think about that. I was like, yeah, I think that's what's more important. Focus on being useful. You might be the best, you might not, but be useful in any room that you're in. That's excellence.
Amazing. What's one thing you know now that you wish you knew when you were 20?
I wish I knew how important intuition is. I wish I knew that relying just on your intellectual and analytical analysis is not enough to make a decision, or relying just on heart and feeling and gut is not enough either. That there's this place between mind and heart called intuition, and that it's like a muscle, you can develop it. And being able to listen to that inner voice is so key. I wish I'd known that and had developed that earlier.
Lovely. And our last question, what's one change you would love to see in the world a decade from now?
I mean, I guess I wish we would not base our happiness so much on our careers. I wish there were other things that contributed to our sense of happiness and bliss and contentment. Even for me, like I could definitely work on that.
Ankur, picking your brain has been absolutely amazing. Just the way you synthesize so much, theory and practice, academia and acting, heart and mind, professional ambition and compassion for others. I think this is something everyone should emulate in their own way, in their own path. Thanks so much for being so real and sharing your experience with us. And I hope everyone watching gained as much as I did.
Thank you. Thank you for asking these questions. I always like to look at podcasts and interviews and stuff like that as an opportunity for introspection. So really, thank you. So sometimes you ask questions. You've asked many questions this interview that I hadn't thought about for many, many years or not at all. So thank you for that.
Alrighty. Well, we'll send you the hamper for the rapid fire very shortly. But no, never mind. Okay. Thanks so much, Ankur. And looking forward to catching up soon.